Europe's skies just got a lot more dangerous.
Right.
And these recent drone incursions into Poland, they're a stark warning. Complacency, it seems, is a luxury we can no longer afford. You likely woke up this week to news about a massive Russian drone assault. But this wasn't just over Ukraine. On September 10th, 2025, 19 Russian drones breached Polish airspace. That's NATO territory.
19, a significant number.
Imagine the chaos. Warsaw's main airport closed down. Jasionka, too, which, is that vital hub for Western aid going to Kyiv.
A critical artery, yes.
Polish fighter jets scrambled immediately. And they weren't just any jets advanced, too. Dutch F-35s were involved.
Right.
And this wasn't just a patrol. They actually engaged Russian military assets directly in Allied airspace, first time in history.
A major escalation point.
Poland, they swiftly invoked NATO's Article 4 for urgent consultations.
Understandable.
They made it clear. These weren't accidents. They see them as deliberate provocations.
A direct test.
Exactly. And this incident, being the largest drone breach of NATO airspace so far, it really raises a critical question for all of us. Is Putin actively escalating his war on Europe? And maybe more importantly, how prepared are we, really, to meet this growing threat?
Well, that's what we're digging into today. In this deep dive, we're unpacking some new, pretty urgent reports. We've got analysis from the International Institute for Strategic Studies, ISIS, the global defense think tank.
Right.
Plus insights from the Atlantic Council, the War Zone, PBS News, Newsweek, and even some interesting points from a Reddit military discussion forum.
Okay.
Our mission, really, is to understand why Europe's air and missile defenses seem to have fallen behind. How Russia is, systematically testing NATO's resolve. And crucially, what concrete steps are actually being taken right now to strengthen that eastern flank, including this new Operation Eastern Sentry.
It's fascinating because for decades after the Cold War ended, from 91 right up to February 2022, Europe kind of settled into this period of, peace.
A perceived peace dividend.
Exactly. There wasn't a major peer-level air and missile threat looming. So air defense, especially that integrated air and missile defense, IAMD, it just became a lower priority.
It really did. That sense of security led to a significant scaling back. NATO's whole IAMD structure was kind of allowed to atrophy after the Warsaw Pact dissolved. Member states focused elsewhere, expeditionary forces, smaller units.
That very operations.
Precisely.
Yeah.
But then Moscow's full-scale invasion of Ukraine happened with these relentless missile strikes, aircraft attacks. It just brutally exposed Europe's need to rebuild robust, large-scale air defenses. It's been a really stark wake-up call, shows the cost of that neglect.
And it's interesting, you hear about Russia's struggles in Ukraine, the equipment losses, tactical mistakes.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean Europe can relax, does it? It almost feels like the opposite might be true.
Absolutely not. That's a dangerous assumption. While their conventional air force, the VVS, maybe showed limited effectiveness initially.
Surprisingly so, some said.
Yes. But they are adapting. They're learning. They're evolving tactics in real time. And their broader aerospace forces, the VKS that includes air, missile defense, space assets, that remains largely intact. It continues to pose a very significant, you could argue, existential threat to European NATO forces. You have to see this conflict as a kind of living laboratory for them.
A testing ground.
Exactly. Their failures become lessons learned, and they're integrating them quickly.
Okay, so let's break that down. If they're learning, adapting, what does this Russian aerial threat actually look like today? It's definitely not just old MiGs anymore.
Oh, not at all.
No.
Ukraine gives us a chillingly clear picture. It's multi-layered. You've got their combat aircraft, sure, but also advanced ballistic missiles like the Iskander-M, aeroballistic ones like the Kinzhal.
The Kinzhal, yeah.
Hypersonic.
Well-claimed hypersonic capability and long-range cruise missiles, KH-101, Kaliber.
Yeah.
But the real revolution, the thing now threatening Europe directly, it's the massive volume, just waves and waves of low-cost, one-way attack, UAVs, drones, and these agile first-person view FPV drones. Right, the OWAs and FPVs.
That's where the strategic shift is really dramatic.
And this brings us to something that's just staggering. The scale of drone production. The numbers are almost hard to believe. It feels like a fundamental change in warfare.
Precisely. It's a dramatic tactical shift. Look at the numbers. August 2024, they used about 800 drones.
Okay.
Fast forward 1 year, July 2025, almost 6,300 drones deployed.
Wow. From 800 to 6,300 in a year.
Yes. And that includes their domestically produced Juran-2. That's the replica of the Iranian Shahed drone. They're mass producing it now.
Right.
Reports suggest they produced over 1.5 million UAVs in total in 2024. For 2025, they're aiming for 2 million FPV drones alone.
2 million FPVs.
That's the target. And these FPVs, they're incredibly cheap, maybe a few $100s each. Yet by 2025, they'd actually surpassed artillery as the main cause of casualties on the front lines.
That's a game changer.
It absolutely is. And here's a key tactic. About half of their drone deployments are apparently fake drones.
Fakes, decoys.
Exactly. Cheap decoys designed purely to overload air defenses, make them waste interceptors, reveal their positions, exhaust the operators.
So it's a cunning tactic. Not necessarily a sign of weakness in their actual drone numbers, but a way to just overwhelm.
Definitely the latter. It's not just about cost. It's about redefining air superiority through sheer volume. Russia's showing that quantity has a quality all its own, especially against high-tech but limited defenses. It forces a new calculation for NATO.
How do you counter a million cheap weapons when your interceptors cost millions each?
Exactly. And these FPVs, their precision against individual targets is something artillery often struggles with. They're incredibly lethal on the front line. But beyond the physical damage, think about the psychological impact. These constant nightly waves over 100 drones, sometimes peaking near, 728 in one night.
Yeah, incredible numbers.
Newsweek highlighted the immense strain this puts on civilians. It erodes morale, that feeling of safety. And tragically, the human cost is real. First half of 2025, over 6,700 Ukrainian civilians killed or injured, the highest figure since the war began. It shows the brutality of this drone warfare.
So, okay, this threat is clear. It's multifaceted. It's overwhelming in scale. How well equipped is Europe to actually counter it? Because it sounds like there are some pretty significant gaps.
That's correct. And it is a sobering reality. Europe lacks adequate IAMD, that integrated air and missile defense across almost the entire threat spectrum. Yes, there are capable systems in service, good ones, but mostly not in the required volumes, not nearly enough for a high-intensity fight.
All right.
NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte even said they need to increase alliance IAMD by 400%. That was June 2025.
400%. That just underscores years of neglect, doesn't it?
It really does. Years of underinvestment catching up.
So where are the gaps most obvious? Is it just numbers, or are there specific types of threats we're particularly vulnerable to?
It's unfortunately both. Stockpiles, surface-to-air missiles, SAMs, air-to-air missiles, AAMs, they're just insufficient for sustained, high-intensity war.
Not enough bullets.
Essentially. And the industrial base can't scale up production fast enough. It wasn't designed for this kind of demand. Plus, critical vulnerabilities exist at the short-range and very short-range levels. That leaves Europe poorly prepared for exactly the kind of OWA, UAV, and FPV drone swarms we see in Ukraine.
Which forces a heavy reliance on the U.S.
Yes, particularly for terminal phase missile defense, things like the Patriot system, crucial for hitting missiles in their final approach, and also for that exoatmospheric mid-course interception, hitting ballistic missiles outside the atmosphere. That's highly complex stuff. Very few can do it reliably.
And this reliance on the U.S., it creates this tension, doesn't it? Between needing systems now versus that longer-term goal of European autonomy, speed versus self-reliance.
It's a core dilemma. You see, the German-led European Sky Shield Initiative, ESISI, their focus is rapid off-the-shelf procurement. Get proven systems like Patriot from the U.S., Arrow 3 from Israel, get them deployed fast.
Makes sense in the short term.
But then you have France strongly criticizing this. They advocate for European-made systems like the Franco-Italian SAM-ET.
To boost European industry and sovereignty.
Exactly. Push for defense industrial sovereignty, strategic autonomy. Both sides have valid points, but these competing approaches, they risk duplicating effort, slowing things down, right when unity and speed are vital.
And even when Europe does produce its own systems, you mentioned bottlenecks. It sounds like trying to build a race car but forgetting to mass produce the tires. Is it the industrial base or something deeper?
It's largely an industrial base geared for peacetime. It's struggling to pivot. Take the Patriot PAC-C3 MSE interceptors, vital against ballistic missiles. They face shortages of key parts, like rocket motors. Even the European SAM-P missile, great system, range over 150 kilometers. They've cut production time per missile from 42 months down to 24. That's progress.
Okay, significant progress.
But the goal is only to increase total production by 50% by 2026. That's slow pace. It's just not suited for high-intensity conflict demands. The whole supply chain needs retooling. Big investment, lots of time.
So faced with this reality and these direct drone attacks on Poland, NATO had to act. What was the immediate response?
Well, after Poland invoked Article 4, NATO moved quickly to launch Operation Eastern Sentry.
Eastern Century, okay.
Initially, it involves deploying a mixed force, fighter jets, an air defense frigate, with plans to expand across the region. Denmark sending 2 F-16s and an anti-air warfare frigate. France, 3 Rafales. Germany, 4 Eurofighters.
A multinational effort.
Yes, and the UK has pledged support too. Reports mention up to 6 Typhoons possibly joining. It's a visible show of collective defense. Article 5, solidarity in action.
And Poland's stance in all this really stands out. Their leaders are not holding back. They're being very assertive.
Absolutely. Prime Minister Tusk, President Naraki, they were crystal clear. These were deliberate provocations, a calculated test of NATO's resolve.
A test.
Marek Megurawski at the Atlantic Council put it starkly. War is no longer next door. It's already on our driveway.
Wow. That's blunt.
He even suggested the message to Moscow needs to be tougher, not just shooting down drones, but targeting the launch bases, the factories, the operators.
That's a significant shift in rhetoric. Reflects a really strong resolve.
It does. A clear hardening of Poland's position. They feel directly threatened and expect a robust response.
And they're backing it up with serious money, real investment. The defense spending figures are quite something.
They really are. Piotr Arek highlighted Poland's plan. $55 billion for defense in 2025. That's 4.8% of their GDP.
4.8%. That's huge. Highest in NATO by far.
By far. And it's not just talk. By 2030, they plan to operate around 1,100 tanks.
1,100.
More than Germany, France, the UK, and Italy combined. This level of investment, focusing on domestic production too, it shows Warsaw clearly understands security demands, action, self-reliance. They're not waiting around.
So looking ahead now, beyond the drones and missiles we know about, what are the next big challenges? What future threats are on the horizon for European air defense?
High-speed threats are definitely a major concern. Things moving at Mach 5 or faster.
Hypersonics.
Like Russia's Kinzhal and their clear interest in developing hypersonic cruise missiles, glide vehicles. These pose huge detection and tracking problems for current sensors. The speed just compresses reaction time dramatically, and their flight paths can be unpredictable, bypassing sensors designed for older missile types.
Right.
Compounding that, Europe mostly lacks a unified space-based missile warning system. That early warning from space is critical for these fast threats.
A big gap.
A critical gap. There are European initiatives, HIDEF and HIDES-2 for interceptors, Odin's Eye for space-based warning, but reports describe them as fragmented, slow-moving, hampered by competing national interests instead of a unified push.
Which brings us back to that question. Is Europe really learning? Or are these internal divisions, this inertia, still holding back effective action, even now?
Well, the ICU's conclusion is quite telling. They say Europe has boutique IAMD capabilities.
Boutique. Meaning high-tech but small-scale.
Exactly. Advanced tech, good sensors, impressive missiles, but nowhere near the sheer volume or the comprehensive, networked sensor coverage needed for a pure conflict. Their report states plainly, efforts to address many of these issues are fragmentary rather than concerted.
Fragmented.
And that debate continues. Quick procurement of U.S.-Israeli systems versus the slower, perhaps strategically better long-term pursuit of European autonomy. It's an unresolved tension, and you hear experts like Ian Brzezinski arguing that incremental responses, slow reactions, actually emboldened Putin, made him think the West lacks the will. He calls for decisive action now.
So wrapping this up, what's the main takeaway for you, our listener, from this deep dive? What should we be thinking about?
I think the drone attacks on Poland really underscore a harsh reality. Europe is at a critical point, a crossroads. The question isn't just if Russia will keep testing NATO's resolve. It seems clear they will. The real question is whether European nations can finally shake off that historical complacency, overcome the industrial base issues, bridge the internal divisions. Can they build a truly integrated, unified, and formidable defense?
Or has that long period of relative peace maybe dulled the collective will to act decisively?
That's the unsettling question. Does the will exist to meet a danger that demands absolute unity?
As we've laid out, the threat is undeniably real. It's evolving fast. And it's not next door anymore, as Megurawski said. It's right here. The choice is made now, or maybe the choice is not made. They will absolutely shape Europe's security for decades.
So consider this. If strength really does deter and weakness invites aggression, What message is Europe actually sending right now? When its defense efforts are still described as more boutique than truly robust, will these drone incursions finally be the wake-up call for unified action? Or just another test that highlights the ongoing divisions potentially emboldening further challenges?